Hey guys, Kyle, the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you my review for My Hero Academia, chapter 193. And okay, so I was right off the bat. I'll just tell you guys, I read this chapter so many times because honestly, it was just that goddamn good. It just like this chapter just gave me everything I definitely I would have wanted out of pretty much I would have wanted out of a flashback that involved All For One and his brother. Like it just it was just that goddamn good. And here's the thing, to me, this one single chapter of Flashback told us more than what most manga would take at least several chapters to tell. And and what makes it even crazier is that there is still more story to come. Because honestly, it's one of those things where I would honestly be it's because honestly, I think this is all. Honestly, this is one of those times where what we basically got, I think, is basically all we need. But at the same time, I'm excited when we do learn more, specifically for me, how exactly the fight between the two brothers went down. But and like I said, I would be fine with basically just I would be fine with just with only exactly what we end up getting here. But if we're gonna get more, like I'm still kind of hyped in order to get more. It's a weird thing to say. Like I'm happy with what we got, but I'm still excited for more, and I want more. Yeah, it was just damn that whole freaking yeah, that just this whole chapter and this whole flashback just had me fanboying like a motherfucker. I'm not even gonna lie, but okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got a little excited there. I'm gonna calm down now here. So yeah. Um. Now, okay. Now let's dive right. Now let's really dive right into it and talk about All For One, All For One and his brother, because honestly, it's like the series of events that happened in this chapter. It's as I kind of predicted. Like both brothers are def like were both brothers definitely, like both All For One and his brother, they definitely seem to have differing ideals, and yet at the same time, there definitely are vast similarities as well. Like they pretty much have the exact same goal from what I saw, but unfortunately they have different methods of achieving it. That's of course where the divisive line came from. Um, like for instance, All For One's brother was right in the sense where All For One does manipulate people, and we've seen that time and again throughout the series. But the thing about All For One is that he manipulates people in a different way. He doesn't. All For One doesn't tell lies in order to get people to trust him. He tells them the complete, unfiltered truth about the nature of society in this world, and how when people and how we basically treat each other is what creates this division between heroes and villains. Villains and heroes are created by villains and heroes are basically created by the very the opinions people have of others in this society. Like you could basically if like for instance if someone walked down the street and saw that someone who had I don't know, like a freaking I don't know, like pretty much a freak like basically a quirk that could instantly kill people, then yeah, you're considered a villain. Like it's the opinions of it's the opinions of society in this world that drives what creates villains. In fact, like honestly, and because of what we learned in this chapter of basically how All For One actually views the world and his own little his own little sense of justice, I'm I'm honestly reminded of a great quote from believe it or not, it was the Penguin in Batman the Animated Series that perfectly describes this whole situation to a T, which is that it's true what they say. Society is to blame. The Penguin from Batman the Animated Series said that, and yeah, it perfectly describes the situation. pretty much society is to blame for creating these villains, these heroes, this whole situation. It's it's insane. Now the only hitch in All for One's line of thinking for me is that yes, while All for One was right that his power could in fact restore order, he definitely the point where All for One went wrong is that he let his power define who he is and what he needs to become, rather than who he should be. And actually, with that in mind, we basically learn in this with what we learn in this chapter. In a lot of ways, All for One shares similarities with Magneto from X-Men, and even a little bit of Light Yagami from Death Note, in the regards where he used his power and charisma to unite people under his banner, like Magneto, but he also let that power and influence corrupt him, pretty much corrupt his ideals in a way, in the exact way like pretty much Light, in the exact way like pretty much Light did in Death Note, and and that's not even just me saying it. Like I was getting some pretty much legit vibes of Magneto and Light in this chapter from pretty much All for One. All for One definitely exude a lot of a lot of that charisma that I would have expected to see out of pretty much out of both Magneto and Light Yagami. I just got a very strong feeling of those two characters from basically how just All for One was doing things in this chapter, how he of his actions, of his words, just everything about All for One just reminded me of those two characters. And all right, and okay, like this, and it's really kind of. And another thing that was really insane in this chapter is just how much is like what, and another thing, it's basically like Izuku said. It's basically like Izuku said. Pretty much everything that he was seeing in this in this chapter, it wasn't anything. It wasn't anything like pretty much how pretty much All Might described it to him. Like it's like I said, this chapter, it gave a lot more context to pretty much that entire scene of just All Might giving Izuku just the rundown of the events, but this actually like gave us actual context of what basically happened all those years ago, and it's pretty much like Izuku said, that the events that occurred all those years ago, they were nothing like what Izuku. They were nothing like what All Might told Izuku. In fact, it's like I said, they were definitely a lot more. They were a lot more complicated than pretty much what than pretty much what he was told. And yeah, it's really a situation where you look at it, pretty much both sides aren't completely right. They're not completely wrong either. It's really just a giant ass battle of ideals, and whose ideals are stronger, who ends up getting, and who ends up basically becoming, whose ideals are right, whose ideals are wrong. It's just a total misunderstanding, honestly. That's the sad thing about it. All right, now I want to backpedal a bit to the context of why we only got a portion of the backstory, which is that according to the first holder, All for One's first holder, All for One's brother, apparently what we saw was pretty much what the backstory we saw. Like I said, it's all that pretty much Izuku could see, because he's only mastered 20% of his power. And I like how it's how that's a clever way of working the quirk of One for All into the backstory, and showing us that there is more to be told when Izuku gets stronger. And it adds a lot more motivation for Izuku to master One for All. He and us, the viewer, can in fact see more of the story to come. And I definitely like how this. I definitely like how Horikoshi is actually kind of pacing out this. He's kind of in a way pacing out this He's kind of dividing this backstory into chunks in this way. It really just kind of it really because it really gives Izuku a lot more motivation in order to master One for All and for us and it gets us hyped in order to see more of this backstory too. On Now, having said that, there is one little concern I have in terms of this whole setup with Izuku needing to master more of One for All in order to see more of this backstory, which is that I like okay with in terms of Izuku mastering his quirk, we've kind of been going at a very gradual pace. We've at a very gradual pace within the story, but with this in mind, I'm like okay, I have faith in Horikoshi that he'll be able to pace this out properly, but I don't know if Shonen Jump is going to have other plans and interfere on that front. Like I'm worried that Horikoshi is going to be forced in order to speed up the pacing in order to get to these other chunks of the flashback of All for One and his brother. Like I'm a little concerned as to how the pacing is gonna go from here. But I have total faith in Horikoshi. It's just Shonen Jump I'm a little worried about in terms of them forcing him on with that. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But the last panel does in fact indicate that he's taking another step forward into that. Taking another step forward. I just hope it's not too far a step. Like I don't know if Izuku has actually managed to control pretty much. I don't know if that's hinting at that Izuku is actually now a little more control over One for All just from pretty much viewing that flashback, or if it's just like it's just a sign that he needs to continue training in order to control more. I think it's probably a little more of the former, in which that maybe from interacting with this he's gained a little bit more of a control, but I don't know if it's entirely if it's a big jump or whatnot. But like I said, we'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, guys, that's all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter and Facebook. That's not for me. Signing off. Later, guys.